Night shift stories that still keep me awake. Story 1. The guest who never slept. I used to work overnight at a roadside inn just outside a small town. It wasn't a big place, 2 floors, maybe 30 rooms total, and most nights were painfully quiet. That's why I liked the job. I was 23 at the time and figured boredom was better than chaos. My shift ran from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. After midnight, the front doors locked automatically, and anyone coming in had to buzz the desk. Most nights, I'd see 1 or 2 late travelers at most. This happened on a Tuesday. At about 11:40 p.m., the buzzer went off. I unlocked the door and watched a man step inside. He was tall, thin, wearing a dark jacket and carrying nothing, no bag, no suitcase, nothing. That should have been my first red flag. He asked for a room, paid in cash, and didn't ask about checkout time, breakfast, or Wi-Fi. When I handed him the key, he stood there for a moment longer than necessary, staring at my face like he was trying to memorize it. Then he walked down the hall. An hour later, I saw him again standing near the ice machine, completely still. Another hour passed, and he was sitting in a chair near the exit, facing the door like he was waiting for something that never came. I checked the system. His room showed never entered. The key log was empty. At 2:15 a.m., I walked over and asked if he needed anything. He smiled and said, "I don't sleep much." At 3:30, I noticed him standing in the hallway outside another guest's room, close enough that his shadow touched their door. That's when I called the police. They arrived fast. Turns out the cash he paid with was counterfeit, and the name he gave me didn't exist. When they escorted him out, he looked back at me once and said, "You were very observant." I quit that job 2 weeks later. Story 2. The man who knew my schedule. I worked the overnight shift at a gas station off a rural highway. No cameras outside. No security guard. Just me and a locked back door. One night, a man came in and said, "You're here later than usual." I told him I always worked nights. He smiled and said, "No, sometimes you leave earlier on Sundays." I laughed it off. Then he added, "You didn't last Sunday, though. Someone else covered." I didn't tell anyone my schedule. After that, he started showing up randomly. Sometimes he'd buy something. Sometimes he'd just stand by the drink coolers and watch me. Once, he mentioned my car. Another time, he asked if I ever got scared locking up alone. The worst night was when I found a receipt taped to the counter one I had thrown away hours earlier. On the back was my name. The police eventually found him parked behind the building with binoculars and a notebook full of times and dates. He told them he was just paying attention. I transferred stores the next week. Story 3. The car that never turned its lights. Oni was 21. Working weekend overnights at a 24-hour convenience store. Around 2 a.m., a coworker stopped by with a friend. They pointed out a car parked at the edge of the lot, engine running, lights off. They said it had been there before they arrived. When they went outside, the driver claimed he was waiting for food delivery. No orders came in. An hour later, the car was still there. Then another car pulled in beside it, also lights off. When someone approached, both cars left at the same time. The next night, a customer warned me again. Same car, same spot. This time, 2 people inside, arguing, pointing at the store. They sped off when noticed. I never saw them myself. That somehow made it worse. Story 4. The bell under the desk. I worked nights at a small family motel. The desk bell was loud and impossible to miss. At 2 a.m., it rang. No one was there. 10 minutes later, it rang again. Still no one. The third time, I stayed behind the desk and waited. That's when I saw it. A hand reached up from underneath the counter and pressed the bell. I ran. From the security office, I watched a man crawl out from under the desk and try the locked door to my room. He left just before police arrived. They found a rock holding the front door open. They never found him. To this day, I refuse to work anywhere with a bell.